doing rather than just dreaming. Second quote from another famous person. This one is from James Dean. And by the way, if you have any question, just let me know in the chat box. For example, if you'd like to know how to pronounce a word, or if you'd like to know the meaning of a word, feel free to just ask me in the chat box. Now let us continue. James Dean says, dream as if you'll live forever. Live as if you'll die today. Dream as if you'll live forever. Live as if you'll die today. So this one can be interpreted as follows. It means that you must make the most of your time. You must maximize the use of your time. So live as if you'll die today. Thus, be happy, do things that you love, rather than just sacrifice and postpone doing the things you love. So live as if you'll die today. Another very wise quote. This one is from Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein. Education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. Education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. Take a quick pause and welcome our second viewer. Hi there, thanks for joining us. If you have any question, as always, just feel free to ask. If you'd like to know the meaning of a word or how to pronounce a word, just let me know. So, back to the Albert Einstein quote, education is not the learning of facts. It means that you should not, if you go to school or if you're learning at university or high school, you should not focus on simply memorizing lots of facts, lots of figures and stuff like that. You should not just focus on the factual aspect. You should instead focus on becoming wiser, on becoming more, or on being able to think better and deeper. So you should train your mind, train your brain. Let's say you're learning English. You should not just take a dictionary and start learning the first word until you've reached the last one. No. Instead, you should train your mind, train your brain. Let's say you could find patterns. You could find words that are similar, whether it's written the same way or a very similar way. So you should think, you should train your mind when you're learning instead of just memorizing facts. Let's move on. Third quote, this one is from Virginia Woolf, the famous author. You cannot find peace by avoiding life. You cannot find peace by avoiding life. It means that if you live, you will always be troubled by numerous things. You will face obstacles. So you cannot, every time that you have a problem, you cannot just shy away from it. You have to become responsible. You have to face your fears. You have to face your problems and step up your game. So if you want to find peace, you must first face your fears if you want to find peace. Next quote. This one is from Steve Jobs, the famous Apple guy. The ones who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do. The ones who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do. This means that, let's say you have some ideas about, you have some innovation, some innovative ideas, you have some business ideas. These ideas may appear to an outsider, they may appear crazy or doomed to fail. You should not be discouraged when someone says that, your ideas won't succeed. Instead, you should believe in your dreams. You should not be discouraged, and you should not quit. So, if you think you're crazy, you might actually be on the right track. The ideas might be crazy enough to succeed. Next quote. This one is from Lincoln. The best way to predict the future is to create it. The best way to predict the future is to create it. This one can be interpreted as follows. If you want to predict what will happen tomorrow, your best bet is to actually try to shape your tomorrow. So don't just become idle and just pray and just wait for things to happen. Instead, change your life, change your future so that you can predict it with better accuracy. So the best way to predict the future is to create it. If you have any question, feel free to ask them. Let's say you would like to know how to pronounce a word or the meaning of a word, just feel free to ask me. Next one, again from Lincoln. We can complain because rose bushes have thorns, or rejoice because thorn bushes have roses. We can complain because rose bushes have thorns, or rejoice because thorn bushes have roses. This quote is quite similar to the glass half empty, half full quote. So it means that you can always look at things from two different angles. You can be an optimist or you can be a pessimist. In this case, you can be happy that thorn bushes have roses, or you could be pessimist and say that you don't like the fact that roses have thorns. So be like Lincoln and rejoice because thorn bushes have roses. Next quote. This one again from Einstein. Creativity is contagious. Pass it on. Creativity is contagious. Pass it on. This means that if you have an idea, if you have an opinion, and if you share those ideas and opinions, it's very likely that people will share it to others, and thus it will become contagious. Everybody will talk about it. Let's say you have written a book. You have shared the book with your friends. Your friends, if he likes it, he might share it with his other friends or relatives. So creativity is contagious. Pass it on. Next quote. This one is from the famous singer from South Korea, Psy. He is the one who made the Gangnam Style song. He says, the world's most famous and popular language is music. The world's most famous and popular language is music. This is true. This is true because music is universal. It's like mathematics. Everyone, regardless of their language and culture and backgrounds, they can understand music. They can relate to it. So, in a sense, the world's most famous and popular language is English, is music, not English. The next quote, this one is from Mark Twain. And by the way, quotes, you can use them when you write something, when you're starting an essay, a story, or if you're starting a conversation, you can always begin by using a quote. It's a very, very creative way to start a conversation. Our next quote is from Mark Twain. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to pause and reflect. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to pause and reflect. It simply means that if you have opinions that happen to be shared by the majority, it might mean that you are wrong. So instead of becoming just the sheep, instead of just following the flock, you should instead question everything, question every opinion that you have, any belief that you may have. So take the time, pause and reflect. Think about your ideas, your opinions and your beliefs. And if you happen to disagree with the majority, it might actually mean that you are on the right path, on the right track to the truth. So whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to pause and reflect. Mark Twain was well known. He was a he was a writer, a rebel, a sort of a rebel. That's why this quote is quite fitting of him. Next one. This one is from Bill Gates, the famous billionaire. I choose a lazy person to do a lazy job because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it. I choose a lazy person to do a lazy job because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it. This one, you can agree with it or disagree with it, but if you interpret this quote, you can come up with the following interpretation. If you want to get a job done, instead of finding someone who will find some complex theories, it's better for you to find someone who tends to be lazy, who tends to find shortcuts, because that person might actually find an easier way, a more simplified version, a more simplified model. So according to this quote, you should find a lazy person. That person will find an easy way. However, I believe that that might not be true, entirely reliable, because in my own opinion, a lazy person might come up with an idea that appears easy, but might be so full of errors and so full of that might generate more problems than it solves. So you might end up paying much more, paying a lot of money just to rectify the errors that that lazy person has generated. So in my opinion, I tend to disagree with Bill Gates on this issue. JFK, the famous president, former president, efforts and courage are not enough without purpose and direction. Efforts and courage are not enough without purpose and direction. It means that if you have, if you are very motivated, if you are brave, that might not suffice, that might not be enough. You need to be focused. You need to have at least some idea, some sense of direction, some purpose, so that you can focus your efforts, so that you can become more disciplined and actually achieve something worthwhile. So efforts and courage are not enough without purpose and direction. A quote from Albert Einstein: everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. Everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. It means that you should not overcomplicate things. You should make things simple. However, you should not oversimplify things. So if you have, let's say, a product, you should make it simple, but not too simple, because otherwise you might actually make it, you might actually create problems, because when you tend to simplify too much something, you tend to avoid addressing some complex issues that actually need to be addressed. So make things simple, but not too simple. Another quote, this one from a certain Paul Revere or Revere, Paul Revere or Revere, depends on how you pronounce his last name. No matter what you do, you'll never run away from you. No matter what you do, you'll never run away from you. It means that your conscience, what you believe in, you cannot run away from it. So you have to accept who you are. You have to accept your past. You have to accept yourself, because you will never be able to run away from you. You won't be able to hide yourself from yourself. You won't be able to live without accepting who you are. So no matter what you do, you'll never run away from you. Walt Disney. If you can dream it, you can do it. If you can dream it, you can do it. This is an inspirational quote from the famous movie producer. Means that if there's something that you're able to conceive, that you're able to plan, you have the capacity, you have the potential to accomplish that thing, that goal, that objective. So if you can dream it, you can do it. Next on the list, Carl Jung. Thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge. Thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge. This quote can be viewed as follows. Most people, they tend to judge other people. They tend to be very condescending. They tend to view others they tend to criticize others. So they judge people. Instead, they don't think. They just tend to jump to conclusions, to do broad generalizations. So instead of thinking and instead of thinking hard, they just go they just jump to conclusion. So don't judge people. Instead, appreciate them, their finer qualities, their finer characteristics. Don't just jump to conclusions. Dalai Lama. The purpose of our lives is to be happy. The purpose of our lives is to be happy. This quote sort of answers the biggest question, which is the meaning of life. What is the meaning of life? According to Dalai Lama, the meaning of life is happiness. The purpose of our lives is to be happy. And by the way, if you want to find some extra content, if you want to stay on top of things, you could subscribe to both this channel and also to our Facebook page. We've just created our Facebook page today. You will find lots of updates over there, so don't miss out. Next quote, this one is from Roosevelt, Eleanor Roosevelt. Great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, small minds discuss people. Great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, small minds discuss people. It means that when someone is not smart, when someone is stupid, they tend to talk about other people, they tend to gossip a lot, to say bad things about other people. to spread rumors. So small minds discuss people. Average minds discuss events. This means when someone has an average IQ, is of average intelligence, they tend to talk a lot about events. Let's say the World Cup, this or that, current events. So according to Roosevelt, average minds discuss events. And according to her, great minds discuss ideas. So in her opinion, the geniuses of today and tomorrow, they tend to think about innovative ideas, about great ideas that can change the world. Might be a business idea, it might be an idea for a charity, anything that is any concept, any idea, they tend to talk about it a lot. So great minds discuss ideas. Robin Williams, the famous deceased actor, Robin Williams. You're only given a little spark of madness. If you lose that, you're nothing. You're only given a little spark of madness. If you lose that, you're nothing. The actor was very talented. He was extremely talented. In his opinion, you have to be a little mad, a little wacky, a little strange and weird. You have to act a little bit crazy. You have to act a little bit like a child. Otherwise, if you lose that part of yourself, of your humanity, if you lose that, then you lose everything. You become like a robot. You lose what part of yourself. So make use of that little spark of madness. Another quote from Robin Williams. No matter what people tell you, words and ideas can change the world. No matter what people tell you, words and ideas can change the world. It means that words and ideas are powerful. They are a very powerful tool for you to make changes, to make revolutions, to make the world a better place. If you can handle the pen, if you can handle the spoken word, you're able to reach people, to move people, to create greatness in this world. So you have to believe that what you say and what you write actually can make a difference, can change the world. A Confucius quote. If you do, yeah, it does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. It does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. Confucius. This means that even if you're not making a lot of progress, even if you're not improving as much as you'd like to, you should not get discouraged. What matters is that you do not stop. You have to keep persevering. You have to keep remaining. You have to remain motivated. You should not stop. You should not give up. You should not throw. You should not. You should continue. You should persevere, even if you're making very small progress. So it does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. One quote from Hepburn, the very famous actress, the American actress. Hepburn. Happy girls are the prettiest girls. Happy girls are the prettiest girls. This can be viewed as follows. When someone is happy, they tend to become more attractive. If you have a dull face, if you are frowning, you tend to repel others, you tend to repel other people. So, if you're happy, you're pretty. So happy girls are the prettiest girls. Nelson Mandela. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. So according to Nelson Mandela, the former president of South Africa, education is extremely potent. It's very, very powerful. You can use it to make huge and massive changes in the world. If you educate your people, if you educate those who don't have access to education, if you educate illiterate persons, if you give them educational opportunities, free education, free university, then you can change the world, because those persons, they will be better equipped, they will have greater potential to make changes, they will be more productive, they will be more creative, they will be able to make great changes. Steve Jobs says, if today were the last day of your life, would you want to do what you are about to do today? If today were the last day of your life, would you want to do what you are about to do today? It means that you have to think about what you're doing. Let's say you are stuck at a dead-end job, you don't like your job, you don't like your boss. You have to stop and think, are you happy with your current state of affairs? Let's say you were to die today, and this is your last day on earth. Would you like to die this way, or would you like to actually do what makes you happy? So, according to Steve Jobs, you have to do things that make you happy, not just things that just barely gets you happy. Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin, the famous actor. Failure is unimportant. It takes courage to make a fool of yourself. Failure is unimportant. It takes courage to make a fool of yourself. This means you should not be afraid to fail. If you fail, it's not a big deal. It's not a deal breaker. It's unimportant. It's not important. Instead, you should be courageous. You should be brave. You should take risks, even if it means that people will laugh. People will make jokes about yourself. They will ridicule you. You should not be discouraged by that. You should be courageous enough to make a fool of yourself. One from a certain Barrymore. You grow up the day you have your first real laugh at yourself. You grow up the day you have your first real laugh at yourself. It means that you must not be angry when others criticize you and laugh at you. Instead, it is a sign of maturity. It is a sign that you are actually an adult when you laugh at yourself, when you don't take yourself too seriously, when you take yourself with some humility, when you laugh at yourself at your mistakes. That means that you are an adult, that you have grown up, that you are wise. So you grow up the day you have your first real laugh at yourself. Dalai Lama. There is no need for temples, no need for complicated philosophy. Our own brain, our own heart is our temple. Dalai Lama says, there is no need for temples, no need for complicated philosophy. Our own brain, our own heart is our temple. It means that you do not need complex philosophies, complex rules to live your life. You should not have, you don't actually need complex rules. You just need your brain and your heart. If you use your brain and your heart, you will be able to live your life the way it should be lived, the way, the best way, the simplest way is the best way. So no need for temples and philosophies. You just need to use your brain, feel what is right, what is wrong, use your heart. That's more than enough, according to Dalai Lama. Paulo Coelho. Don't waste your time with explanations. People only hear what they want to hear. Don't waste your time with explanations. People only hear what they want to hear.